I feel okay with what I saw recently, even though nothing I say is financial advice when it comes to Zebec. What do I mean by this? Because remember not too long ago when Zebec, they were talking about how they, along with Uphold, they're going to be appearing in some kind of NHL games and as well as some of the NBA games and all this type of stuff. But then actually, when it comes to the NHL, I did not see them initially when it was the Golden Knights game, right? The Vegas Golden Knights. And eventually, Simon, the CEO, he made like an updated post saying how because like they're the first quote unquote token company to kind of do any of this type of stuff with the NHL, they had to kind of, do something. I don't know. It was kind of a delay a little bit, arguably. That's the way I interpret it. But then as of right now, I saw that Zebec was in the recent St. Louis Blues game, which I find pretty interesting because now I can actually see it. Now, in the grand scheme of things, is it necessarily the coolest thing out there of all time? Well, not really, but still seeing that I think is pretty interesting nonetheless. Now, people may be thinking, okay, what has that really done to the hypothetical price when it comes to ZBCN? Kind of nothing. Actually, it's been having a slight pullback, but it's kind of the thought that counts. And the thing is, kind of showcasing themselves like that in a game, it's nothing necessarily that's gonna make it do this or do that if the sentiment isn't the best when it comes to altcoins, right? But then at least it kind of showcases how Zebec even cares about stuff like this because they could easily not. So yeah, just seeing that right there, I do like what I'm seeing. It's like, for instance, let's say, personally for me, right? Let's say I'm having a birthday party, even just coming to the birthday party, that's already cool right there. Even though personally I do not celebrate my birthday as of late. I mean, I haven't done that in many years, but I'm saying if let's say it was like 10 years ago or something like that, and someone just came, I'd be very happy because it's just the thought that counts, right? So, in my point of view, when it comes to Zebec, it's kind of like the case as of right now. It's just kind of a thought that counts type of moment, in which case they didn't necessarily have to do that. And I don't know, right, out of the audience that is attending this NHL game, I don't know who actually knows what Zebec is because, I mean, a lot of my friends that are even within this space don't even know what Zebec is, let alone people who may not necessarily focus on a space like this. Are they necessarily going to know what Zebec is? That's just my point of view. But it's cool though, at least they can say that they did appear in an NHL game. But yeah, that's the way to take a look at it. Now, in the grand scheme of things, in my point of view, Zebec is not only just focused on stuff like this, but it is a cool component, I suppose, to what Zebec is overall, because when it comes to other projects out there with kind of the same size of Zebec, more or less, they're not necessarily caring about this type of stuff. I feel like a lot of other projects out there that kind of have a similar size to ZBCN right now, they're just updating occasionally, and that's kind of it. They're not really doing much. However, I do at least like seeing what I'm seeing here, that they're even caring about this again. Now, granted, though, do I think that doing this forever is going to be hypothetically a good thing? I mean, I personally wouldn't do it forever just because I feel like it's good in certain moments, but not forever, right? Because, I mean, probably the resources could be used elsewhere, but still, it is cool nonetheless, and maybe this kind of builds a reputation with the NHL or in the NBA. And then who knows, maybe moving forward, if let's say they do launch new things, let's say for whatever reason, or let's say they have new partnerships or they acquire something that's pretty interesting, maybe they could, appear in some of the games again, right? It already kind of builds that relationship. So this is why I don't think it's necessarily such a thing that I wouldn't care about. I actually do care about it because not only does it build a relationship in my perspective, but also on top of that, it lays the groundwork for maybe what it could do moving forward when it comes to the NHL and as well as the NBA. Not to mention, I think this right here could also reflect pretty cool upon future partnerships that Zebec does. Because imagine if Zebec has a new partnership, or let's say they want to have a new partnership, they can say, hey, we once did something with the NHL, we once did something with the, you know, NBA. So it's pretty cool nonetheless. It's a good thing to have in the hypothetical resume. That's the way you take a look at it. Now, of course, it's not like a personal resume or something like that. It's just a resume for the project, but I'm just saying it is still pretty cool nonetheless. Because when it comes to Zebec, I mean, it's not the most well-known project out there, right? Doing this is not going to make them more quote-unquote well-known by a significant margin in my perspective, but at least they're trying to do something. That's just the way I take a look at it. And this is all on top of Zebec still trying to have that ISO 20022 compliance, right? They're still working on it, supposedly. They're still working towards FCA as well. They already achieved SOC2 and as well as MICA. So that's pretty interesting. That's pretty cool in my perspective. So they're still kind of, I guess working on two more, but then they're already done with the other two, which I find pretty impressive nonetheless, considering how it's not like that many people really asked for, I think, some aspects of Zebec that they necessarily do sometimes, but just seeing how they're still putting the initiative, it is something that makes me still a fan. That's the way to take a look at it. Now, I get it. When it comes to 10 cents, currently ZBCN's around 33 times lower than that. So it's not doing the best, but a lot of altcoins are also not doing the best, and the way I take a look at it, at least the pullback when it comes to ZBCN hasn't been as extensive as something like XCN, which is actually arguably its closest competitor, I would say, as of right now. So I find that pretty interesting. I mean, keep in mind, XCN not too long ago had a market cap of around $1 billion, which we did not see when it comes to ZBCN this year, but XCN reached that. But then actually now the market cap of XCN is around 200 million, whereas ZBCN is around 300 million? Not too far off when it comes to XCN, I suppose, but still, it's higher than that. And actually, it hasn't achieved as much in the past year as something like XCN, but then it's actually holding up a lot more dynamically, I would say, a lot stronger, I would say, when compared to that. So, in my perspective, again, the pullback has been pretty extensive, yeah, but it hasn't been as extensive as its closest competitor in my perspective, which could be viewed as in two ways though, because if let's say my intention is the dollar cost average and I see a low market cap or something like that, I don't know why I'd necessarily complain. However, when I take a look at ZBCN, my plan just stays the same. It is just to dollar cost average literally once a month. I don't do any more than that. I don't do any less than that either. That's just my point of view. Now, if I take a look at the hypothetical idea of a $9.5 billion market cap, which it arguably would have that market cap considering current circulating supply at the hypothetical idea of 10 cents, which to me, it just doesn't seem like such a outlandish market cap, arguably, if let's say there was an altcoin season and if let's say there is that kind of hypothetical notoriety for the payments and global trade and finance space, especially, again, if there is, let's say, an altcoin season. Because if we take a look at, let's say, something like Stellar, right? If some people are telling me, oh, there's going to be no future, hypothetically, within this space or something like that, my kind of thought process is that at that point, why would I believe in Stellar, right? Because Stellar is literally the second biggest project within the payments and global trade and finance space as of right now. Again, within this space, right? So if let's say I don't believe in the space, but then I believe in that, how does that make sense? That's just my point of view. So if I believe in the space, and then if I believe in Stellar, why wouldn't I hypothetically, just in my case, right? I can't speak on anyone's behalf, but why wouldn't I maybe look at a miniature version of that? Basically, that's the way to take a look at it, but with a Solana aspect, with the backers of it being Circle, the creator of USDC, and as well as Solana Ventures, and also on top of that as well, still working towards ISO 20022 compliance. Stellar already did that, right? When it comes to the aspect of having ISO 20022. It's already kind of done its thing. But when it comes to ZBCN, or should I say Zebec, it hasn't done that. So then it's kind of like as if hypothetically there was this moment where I was able to believe in a smaller version of that, but then not having achieved that ISO 20022 aspect yet. Why would I wait until it does that? I personally want to be a part of that journey, which is why I'm still waiting. I'm still staying patient. That's just the way to take a look at it. But ultimately, that's all I can do. I mean, beyond that, I can't really do anything. So, yeah, I'm just going to wait, stay patient, and that's it, I guess, when it comes to Zebec. But I just wanted to make a video talking about what I've seen when it comes to Zebec and why I find it a little bit okay, right, that I saw what they did with the NHL. So, yeah. Still staying patient, and that's about it. Just wanted to make an update video real quick, and I want to say thank you for watching. I hope y'all have a nice day. It's Billy the Captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.